Welcome back to Inside Assemble AI, the podcast where we explore how artificial intelligence is transforming business strategy and innovation. I am Mac, and alongside my co-host Sam, we continue our mission to cut through the AI hype and bring you the real insights from leaders who are implementing AI strategically in their organizations. In our previous episodes, we have explored AI in marketing, education, product management, executive leadership. Today, we are diving into something equally crucial: building AI communities and democratizing access to AI education. One disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host or guest and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position of an organization. The podcast is intended to provide general educational information and entertainment purpose only.
Today's episode is called Building AI Communities and Driving Real World Impact. And what we're asking today is how do you turn AI access into opportunities and create meaningful change through community driven AI education? We'll explore practical frameworks for AI adoption, strategies for overcoming internal resistance, and the surprising insights about who adopts AI fastest. Today, we're joined by an esteemed guest, Claude Jones, a veteran tech leader with over 20 years of experience at companies like Yahoo, Walmart, Strava, and Central. Claude is the founder of San Diego Tech Hub and Do It With AI, a platform offering free AI training, certification, and consulting to help people and businesses learn faster, build smarter, and create real world results. What makes Claude's perspective unique is his passion for turning access into opportunities and using technology to drive meaningful change. He's been at the forefront of democratizing AI education and building inclusive communities that bridge the gap between AI potential and practical implementation. Claude, we're excited to have you here to share your insights on this critical mission. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Mac. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so let's start with our first segment for today. Claude, tell us what's all about Do It With AI. What's the mission and vision driving this platform?
Awesome. Well, Do It With AI is a company focused on AI, given the name. We provide training, we provide consultancy, and most importantly, we're helping to provide AI fluency for individuals and for companies. But we're very community forward. And the ultimate goal is that we want to make sure that AI is accessible, right, to help eliminate some of that fear that we hear about with its adoption.
Okay, perfect. So that mission of turning access into opportunity is powerful. What was the moment or experience that made you realize that there was such a critical need for free AI education and certification?
Well, the need for free certification, I wanted to ensure that people had access to information. When you go online and you start thinking about AI, what you start seeing are a bunch of scare tactics in my mind. It's like, hey, you have 12-year-old kids, making, $10 million businesses, and you're using ChatGPT, to write poems or something along those lines. And people were really worried about, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my job. And there was all this, people felt they were being left behind and they were afraid of AI. The whole goal here is that AI is not going, you should not be scared of AI. You should be worried about people that know AI. That's what you're going to lose your job to. So this idea with providing free, so we do have paid and free offerings. We wanted to offer these essentials. It's really getting people acclimated to understanding, okay, you know what, there's all these different LLMs out there. Which ones do I use? What's perfect? What is an LLM? Well, I heard about prompt engineering or context engineering. What's the difference between those two? Well, ChatGPT can generate images. What's Midjourney and all these other things? So you have all these different tools that continue to exist in the marketplace, and how can you help distill things down in an easier way so that people can start becoming comfortable with it? And once we have a foundation of things, then you can start educating folks, because no longer is fear driving that the cause, it's more about creativity driving it. And so that's really what we're trying to do here is that how can we create an entry point for people to get familiar with AI and cut out all the noise that we tend to hear so that they then can start to think creatively about how AI can be applied in their lives.
Really appreciate Claude that for spearheading this initiative at AI to your community and to your localities. Like, I mean, it's not an easy thing, and I think I completely agree with you because a lot of people they fear about that they are losing their jobs, but they
Yeah.
still don't want to try that what is AI in reality and how they can implement it and how they can increase their productivity at the same time. So I really appreciate that that you were taking the lead on it. And having said that, for the next segment, I'm going to pass it over to Sam.
Thanks, Mac, and thanks, Claude, for what you started to building that AI community. Because at the end of the day, we need someone, a leader, who would actually steer the journey or steer that will of the AI innovation, right? So thanks, Claude, for what you've been doing for the community, and thanks for sharing stories about your startup that you recently ventured in. You've been in tech industry for over 20 years, seeing multiple transformation waves. How has AI shifted your strategic priorities in the past year? And what role do you see it playing in your business 3 years
Yeah.
from now, from your tech perspective or experience?
Yeah. I'm smiling because it's such a great question. Um, I will admit when I first started using, ChatGPT,
Mhm.
it started with just asking some questions to sort of see what's going on, and then really learning how to prompt correctly to get the maximum amount of the content,
Right.
that I would get. One day I wanted to build a website, and I happened upon Lovable. I was just heard about this vibe coding, wanted to see everything that was going on there, and literally I wrote a prompt and magically I just had a website connected to a database, had authentication, connected to a payment service, all from a prompt. In less than 10 minutes, I have this fully functioning website. And I'm thinking, how revolutionary is this? So the first thing that came to my mind is, oh my gosh, people are going to lose their jobs, like things. It was that same sort of fear factor, like what is going on? But then I realized is that, man, if you can harness the power, truly harness the power of AI. And AI is really a co creator of the process that we're doing. And so, if you can shift the mindset from, okay, this isn't something that I should fear, it's just an extension of my own intelligence. That's really what we're looking at here. So, if I think of AI as an extension and a co creator in the process of the things I'm trying to do, what a revolutionary thought. My productivity has just skyrocketed. I'm saving these cost savings. And now that means that any idea that I have, I can now manifest the things that I want to see, just like that. And so when I started thinking about like, what does it mean from a business point of view? I have the challenge of how can I scale myself? I want to become a manager of agents. That I build out the agents, I figure out what's going on. I take my creativity, the things that need to be done, I can train them. Instead of training individual, I can train agents. Now I've scaled myself infinitely. And now if I can do that with other folks to encourage that, they can scale themselves. And so I think the transformation from a business perspective and why I came up with the name Do It With AI, because I wanted to live and breathe that motto that everything that I do, I'm doing it with AI. Not because I'm lazy, but because I see it as an extension to my creativity.
No, totally like agree with you. And like you said, you want to live and breathe in AI. Like something like, we all should have that mindset, not just having the fear factor of like, oh, AI is going to take over your job or AI probably going to do potentially harmful to something that you may not even like witnessed or something like that. But I just feel like at the end of the day, it just boils down to that mindset and curiosity of adopting AI and try to use it for your potential benefit or anything as such, because we don't even know that what level of unlocking potential that AI could do in future, and how we can maximize our skill set, even our thought process and wisdoms by utilizing AI
Mhm.
in the future. I totally agree with you, Claude, and thanks for sharing your perspective. I'm pretty sure our listeners will be agree with you as well. Now, looking at your journey from Yahoo to Walmart to Strava, and now with Do It With AI, what's one AI initiative or product decision that changed the trajectory of your business? And what did you learn from it? If you can share an example, that'll be great.
You know, AI has been around for a while, right? Just under different names. We think about, machine learning, like all this stuff has been there. And until, OpenAI really kind of put ChatGPT on the forefront, you started seeing this transformation and made it easily digestible to have a conversation with it. So I think the transformation really was when I was at Sinner, the private equity firm that I was working within, they wanted to move fast, right? And AI had just really, hey, you can replace your development team and sort of get this going. And there was so much pressure around adopting AI and being able to bootstrap a business within days, and then making millions of dollars based on that. But there was a knowledge gap, right? When you hear about people having productivity at 40% productivity gains, all these cost savings that are going on. Well, what was missing from that equation is how do you bring people along? It's a change management problem that exists. And you just can't thrust AI on individuals and expecting things to work. How does it integrate in their day to day? If I don't know how to extract it, am I believing everything that AI is saying? Where do I go through in QA? Everything just isn't automated. So even in its infancy, you have these companies trying to be on the forefront, but at the detriment not only to the company itself, but also the employees, because they're displaced, they're confused, they don't know what's going on. So being in that sort of environment really was a catalyst for me to reflect on myself that what do I really know about AI? Because I was using it, right, to accomplish the things that I was doing day to day, but it wasn't widely something that was adopted. And for the people that were doing it, you had different people doing different things. There weren't any best practices or standards or how are we collaborating. It was like a taboo thing. Oh, don't say anyone that you use AI because it feels like you're cheating. So that was sort of the catalyst for me to say, as I started looking at all the companies that I've been in, and even the last one, how can we help improve that knowledge and that adoption? I mean, the story is always going to be the same. It's about transformative change and change in mindset. Those are the two core things. And once you're able to do that, it unlocks creativity.
Yep.
So that was just the pivot. Like now it's a chance to help people unlock creativity in new and unique ways, leveraging AI.
Definitely. Totally agree with you on this one. Now, Claude, you are a startup founder now. So I think this next question is kind of relevant to your current professional journey. So for our listeners who are founders or executives just starting their AI journey today, what practical advice would you give them based on your experience across these different organizations? And also you can share some experience from your current do it with it AI journey as well.
Yeah. I'm going to start with my own story here because I think there's some lessons to sort of be applicable. The first thing that I had to do for myself was, again, change my mindset. How was I really using AI? I shared that story with you that, when I was starting out, like, okay, I'm going to do it with AI. Okay, I need to get a website. I need to get, marketing materials. I was building this big list. And then I was thinking, okay, now I'm going to go on any sort of, marketplace to find developers to help me build this thing. Well, it was thousands and thousands of dollars to get this done. And I'm like, I have a company that I want to start called Do It With AI, but yet I'm not doing anything with AI to get anything done. So the first was just changing my mindset on, do I know what the right tools are to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish? And if I didn't have the answer, how could I leverage AI to help find the most efficient way of getting that done? And it changed my perspective on how I want to use AI more than just, I've uploaded a document, please, give me some input from this, or I wrote this email, change it. I really pushed the bounds for myself on how I was going to use AI to sort of build the business. So the first thing is that change my mindset and reimagine how AI can be used to help yourself scale. That was one. The second, get your hands dirty. I was not afraid to get in there and just make mistakes, because AI is something that, you have to iterate on. If we're all familiar with an iterative process and things that are going on, I mean, for those that are familiar with just using ChatGPT, we have that temperature setting. All AI does is it goes out and it pulls the first in number of results that comes back. That doesn't mean that's the most accurate. What context are you providing it to be able to refine that result to get the tone and the message that you want? And you have a lot of folks that just start once and they don't iterate on it like any other thing that you might do. So that iteration was something that I continued to do to kind of hone in on what was going on there. I think the last thing that I would say across from mindset and iteration was just unlock your creativity. If you do not have a childlike mindset, you are unable to imagine what is possible. You can't do it because you're going to be thinking in a very archaic way. We've been conditioned to operate in the 9-to-5 jobs in the corporate sector, right? And so we're conditioned not to really think outside the box. When you're leveraging AI, you can think outside the box. What's unique is an AI, an LLM, or even an agent has the equivalent of a PhD. It works for 25 cents a day, 24/7, 7 days a week. If you had access to an army of those individuals to do what needs to be done, what do you think is possible? The only limiting factor that you have, aside from understanding the technology, is your mind. That is it. And so transform your mind to think differently, iterate on it, and unlock that creativity. That gives you all the basic tools to manifest whatever you want.
No, love it. Especially the fact that you mentioned about keep your hands dirty and just iterate. Doesn't matter how many times you fail, you're still going to use AI on that, because I feel like the whole idea about AI neural network was initially to mimic human brain. And we human are prone to making mistakes. That's how we're going to get better, right? So I think the AI is also doing the same thing. You got to make your hands dirty, make that AI fails probably for numerous times before it starts getting better and add value to your work. So
That's right.
love that. Thanks, Claude. And I love the way the discussion is going. So I'm going to pass it over to Mac for the next segment of this Q&A section.
Thanks, Sam. Lord, you just actually read my mind. I mean, the answers you gave me, it's very inspiring. The first thing I completely resonate with that. So I was involved in a couple of startups, actually multiple startups, since I'm actually a startup mentor. And even few years back that we have to do first analysis for market research, right? So the founders, they don't even know where to start, where to end for the analysis phase. Now, they can even ask with some of the data, or even without even data, they can simply ask to the prompt and they can validate their idea that is good or bad. I mean, they can create a sites as you mentioned the first, like write a prompt, create a website within a minute through Lovable. You can create a pitch deck, right? I mean, you can simply go to Gamma and then just do the prompt. You will get the pitch deck within 1 minute. So this is actually revolutionary, and I mean it's kind of those people like who are actually are not utilizing AI properly. They are actually losing them, honestly. So and having said that, my next questions to you is that you founded the San Diego Tech Hub and now do it with AI. Clearly, the community plays a central role. Now, what role does community play in your AI strategy? How has that changed outcomes for the people and the businesses you work with?
That's such a great question. Community is at the heart of everything. If you have a business and there's no people to work in that business, what do you have? Nothing. You might have an idea, but you have no one to be able to execute and bring that idea to fruition. We're at an age right now where AI, it is it. Think about in the 1990s when spreadsheets came out that revolutionized the world. And, AI is now about to take what the one reporter stat I saw was like 85 million jobs. 85 million jobs could be eliminated this year. But then over the next 5 years or so, or 3 to 5 years, that's going to help generate 97 million new types of jobs. So when you start thinking about community, the community represents the workforce. If you get the workforce acclimated to how to unlock their creativity, how to use their tools, what's actually going on, what you're going to see is that companies are going to be hiring individuals that have AI agents or a background in leveraging AI to help be more productive in what's going on, more cost efficient. You're going to see solopreneurs now that are starting their businesses just with one or two people helping to drive the things that they need to do. And what you're going to see is that it's creativity that's going to drive value because everyone's going to be making money. They call it the gold rush and things that are going on. But it's the people that understand how to leverage those tools most efficiently that are going to take advantage of this next wave that's to come. So why community is important? Because if you start with community, that's where you can get mentorship, you can get support, you can create, business relationships from that. Mac, Sam, myself, we each have unique attributes, passions that we have. And if we sit down in a community and talk about what you like and what I like and what's going on, and we're leveraging AI, the three of us could start something amazing with this new creative thought that we have. Only community can do that. And if we're all speaking the same language without any bias, without anything, you don't need to go to a massive school and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn AI. It's just the time, intention, and creativity to kind of unlock it. And so the goal with community is that if training becomes accessible, people feel comfortable, they're able to collaborate with one another and able to create their own opportunities to monetize. It creates a self-sustaining ecosystem that thrives. That is what community is able to do. It's like a village, right? That people are contributing, and we're moving that forward.
Love that. What? And, I was talking to Sam before this meeting that I learned about vibe coding only because I attended one meetup through the community. Then I learned actually different LLM stuff. Then, all this prototyping stuff. Most of them are, editing conferences, virtual conferences. So, I'm so much grateful to have, like so many people around me in the community and even, and even attending the virtual conferences. So, um, having said, now my next question is, so when you are building these inclusive AI programs, how do you measure success? What metrics tell you that you are actually making a meaningful impact?
Yeah. So there's a couple things that we're actually looking at. So with the first sort of pilot that we ran, we opened it up to 100 people to come in, and it was free. And the test there was that we wanted to see people's tolerance for AI, right? And we had partnered with a company called Mind Studio, and they build a very easy to use tool on creating AI agents. And so as part of that, it's pretty much workflow management, but coupled with AI. So success in that particular case for these 100 people is it was a 3-week course. How many people stayed, completed the homework, and did everything, right? So we were looking at sort of benchmarks there. The other thing is once you've sort of completed that homework, there's like a final test or assignment that you needed to do. How many people completed that so they can get a certificate of completion, that they sort of went through that. And one of the things that we saw is that there were individuals that were just hungry. They went in and they really studied and they took it and they just learned, right? And they were just going through and started creating stuff, and it just made it look so easy. Then you had another class of individuals that would see those other folks thrive. And what ended up happening is that they started to diminish. This wasn't for me. It's just too overwhelming. They were used to this conversational way of doing things, and they've sort of lost that creative thought. Like there is some level of technical ability just to understand like what's a variable. If I'm doing a prompt, how do I structure certain things, right? There is a little bit of technicality around it. Not that you're coding, but there's some technicality around it. That scared folks. A benchmark was how many people could actually go through and complete the assignment, understand the core concepts, and at the beginning, what their AI fluency scale was. Do they still feel that they're a beginner, or do they feel like they've advanced, at a point to where they're more comfortable with AI? That was some of the initial sort of benchmarks we were looking at: AI influency, completion of the projects, and then also within our Slack channel, how many people were they active? Because you had some folks that wanted to share and, collaborate. Hey, I'm running into this problem. This is sort of what's going on. And then you had people that didn't say anything at all. Right. And so we were really kind of teasing out, who was active, what was going on. And what we've learned is that for the champions that are there, how can you take them to help make the others feel comfortable, right? So that everyone's rising together. Did that answer the question?
Love that, love that. And I also want to add actually like what you mentioned at the first, like, it's all about mindset, right? I mean, whenever you were finishing the course and finishing the assignment, I mean in AI, it's all about the mindset and it's all about the dedication at the same time. So what is in your vision board? So I saw people like they're having 9 to 5 jobs, full-time jobs, and they are raising kids. And at the same time, like they are, whenever they back to home after office, they're still doing their assignments. So I completely resonate with that what you just said. And having said that, my next question is that what surprised you most about who adopted AI fast in your programs? Any unexpected patterns or insights?
What's funny? It was non-technical people. Like when I say non-technical people, it was folks that were very creative with conversation, like how to write a prompt, what was going on, how to extract the info, like how to really have a conversation with the AI and that whole iteration. Or sometimes you get some of the engineers that were very rigid in their thinking, like they had to unlearn some of the processes, the structures, and the patterns. There are things that are applicable, but just in a normal kind of agent development and things going on, it's really about context. It's really about, what you're integrating with, mapping out a workflow. So for people that were like, I want to solve this problem. And if I started saying, well, think about the problem in a modular way, and each box represents this, and you have a prompt there, people are like, what the heck are you talking about? But when it's like, hey, what problem are you trying to solve? Let's take a use case, break things down into little boxes step by step and figure out what's going on. Each one of those boxes then becomes something that you can ask the agent to do, and it's going to give you a response. You take that response, you can pass it on to the next thing. And then you think about it's a conversation in a different way. And so when you explain that to folks that were creative in nature, they end up just 15, 20 agents like in a day, because they could see like, oh, I could write a screen scraper, agent that's looking at a LinkedIn post, change the prompt and have that point to a financial, some stock thing, and that can analyze stock, change the prompt, that can analyze XYZ. And so they started learning that, wow, I can have this thing do a function, but I could just tell it to do something else. And the same code with different contexts can yield a different result. That was a big unlock, to where that has nothing to do with programming. That has all to do with the context that you're providing the engine, And when that happened, that was a surprising unlock for folks because it just made it easy.
Right. Yeah. Great answer. I love the conversation, like the way where it is going. And excited for our next segment, talent and organizational change. I'm going to pass it over to Sam.
Thanks, Mac. And Claude, you actually mentioned in the previous section that we still need humans to apply those AI transformation initiatives and the ideas, right? That's why we have to build a community. So my next question is kind of like about the people sides of AI transformation. So in your opinion, how do you approach a technical talent strategy in the age of AI, especially around reskilling, hiring, or upskilling, or even rethinking about the roles that is currently going into a transformation process due to the emergence of generative AI?
Hmm. It's a very complex question because it's different depending on the environment that you're in. A solopreneur is going to be different from a proper startup, which might be different from a small to medium-sized business, which is different from a big corporation, right? The level of complexity of the data that you're handling is going to be different. Constraints and compliances that you need to look at. Mm-hmm. So let's just ignore these different levels and just get down to the core question of just being human. Just being human. Because the humans are what drive these things anyway. So we've already talked about a mindset shift. Let's kind of shift it now to something that's more around understanding the tools that you're using. If you were to ask a majority of people, when you use AI, do you just copy and paste what it spits out and then use that? Or are you truly collaborating with it? And I mean, I haven't done the test, but people that I talk to, they just copy and paste what's going on. And then you see these things where you have a lot of these in dashes. And, now we've trained that when we read something on social or something like that, we know like that's AI. because it doesn't have any heart, it doesn't have any soul associated with it. It's just vanilla and all the same. And so I think when we start looking at humans as part of that transformation, are we clear about how people can use AI in a way that will benefit them? The easiest thing to do is to start with a foundation that says, what is the simplest use case that I can apply leveraging AI to help save time or help save money in my own personal job?
Mhm.
That could be automating an email. It could be, helping with ingesting information, whether it's in a secure way or how things are going, and then being able to summarize a report. Right? We use AI all the time. Like if you're using Google or Meets, I mean, there's ways to where you can tiptoe your way into having these efficiencies where you're doing meeting summaries, other types of things that are going on. And so how can you start with AI in a very practical way to start identifying the common low-hanging buzzword, low-hanging fruits to help solve some efficiencies? Once that starts happening, you'll start seeing a transformation where people are going to want to explore AI. Oh, I want to use it for this. Or, hey, I can see the benefit here. This is what's going on. So now that you have people excited about using AI, then you start identifying what a common use case might be. Pick a small project. We're going to do this project and we're going to have a core group of folks. And this core group of folks are going to work on this project to test and validate, AI to see how it can help improve efficiency gains or whatever that might happen to be. This is no different from what companies tend to do with any massive transformation, right? They start small, they figure out, the test and validate it, understand the ROI. Then they have an internal case study that then could be used and champions within the company that can help educate others to help accomplish the things that they need to do. This is the same thing as community. Whether there's a community, which is a company culture to where you're driving change, or whether there's a community within a startup or a meetup group, it's the same sort of thing. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but what I would sort of summarize to say is, as part of any sort of transformation, it is start small with common use cases to help get people acclimated to what that change might be, whether it's saving time or saving money. Get a core group together and come up with an MVP project or a pilot project that can be used with that small group to identify AI champions within your org. Once that is successful, celebrate the success. Figure out how to develop a community within your company to where you get everyone involved, get everyone comfortable, showcase the power of what's actually going on. Now, I'm skipping a bunch of other stuff around security compliance and all these other things, but that'll come, you'll find companies to figure out what's going on, but it starts with getting the people ready to go. I think the other second part, just from the top down, you have these executives now that are like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so much pressure to adopt AI into my business. And I don't know what it means on, what tools I need to adopt. Do I have to lay off a bunch of people? What's actually going on? And before any, executives make moves, if they don't understand what the tools are, why they want to use them, and how they're going to be applied, why would you start doing anything?
Yep.
If there's no integration strategy on what that looks like and what the impact would be, why are you starting and doing anything? And companies are being very reactive because they don't want to be left behind because they're attaching themselves to buzzwords, not realizing that AI is already being utilized in tools that are already known, right? If you use Microsoft Stack, Google, all these things already have AI tools associated with it, but just slowly adopt to figure out what's going on, what makes sense for you. But we have to stop being a reactive culture and being a culture that the opposite of reaction, I guess, in this particular case.
Claude, I think I totally agree with you on this part, especially the fact that, like you mentioned, the save time and save money. I think that's kind of like one of the main primary aspect of why we kind of like want to start utilizing AI. But it's not like that, we have to use AI just because we have to join the bandwagon. We also have to make sure that do I have a use case? I think we probably have to ask that question to ourselves, like, do we really have a use case that we can implement? We can utilize AI to make that faster, or it's gonna bring probably more money or generate more revenues. But I just feel like sometimes we kind of like bog down on it, just joining that the rally of like, okay, we have to utilize AI for so and so cases because I don't want to live behind. But I think that's the mindset probably a leader shouldn't follow. Rather, they just first focus on what the simplest use case they can drive through AI, especially taking care of all the mundane tasks that they really don't want to do, like reading, getting a summary of the emails, or even automating an email response, or even generating PowerPoint deck just right before a client meeting could be utilized or could be faster by utilizing AI. So thanks, Claude, for your perspective on that. Now I'm going to move to the next question of this segment is, have you faced any internal resistance to AI adoption in the organization you have worked with? If so, how did you overcome it? Or how are you still navigating those challenges? We'd like to know your experience, because most of the cases now, like you said, that there are certain people with rigid mindset of not adopting AI because of so and so reasons. But if you face similar kind of challenges in your previous organization, or you're continuously facing that challenges, we'd love to know about your story. Especially our listeners will be able want interested to know what strategy you face or you follow to kind of overcome that.
Yeah. I would say the last, that I was at,
Mhm.
there wasn't any trust in AI. People didn't truly understand. Like I could go through and say, hey, here I'm trying to solve a coding problem. I go through and I might use Claude or ChatGPT and hey, I'm trying to solve this problem. Here's this code snippet. Help me resolve this. And it'll write some code. I would take that code and integrate it in. I'm not saying the code was perfect, but I would go through. It might have saved me time to kind of scaffold out what needed to be done. I can get that integrated. People felt like that was cheating. And well, it's not right all the time. And so they were unwilling to really accept the fact that they could use AI just to help accelerate some of this stuff, or even research things, or troubleshoot and debug the issues that we have. So the resistance was more around a lack of trust. After I left that company, I realized that in addition to the lack of trust, that was driving fear. But it was fear because it was, I don't understand. But they didn't want to take the time to understand because they didn't want to feel like they were cheating. It was a very weird dynamic there. And then people didn't want to put in the work to actually learn to get things done. It was like learning a new language, interacting with something. So they would try it, they wouldn't get the results that they needed. And then they were like, this isn't for me. It's too complicated. I don't want this. And so I was hoping to overcome those things that, how do you trust AI? AI just, it recognizes patterns. It takes information, it takes what you have, and it'll bring whatever sort of result that you need to. If you don't coach it and educate it and talk to it and just converse with it, be explicit about what it is that you're looking for and validating the output that it provides, of course you're not going to get the results that you need.
Mhm.
So it was the tactic here is really about it's education, education, education. Think about if you started a new company just fresh out of college. Do they just throw you into the job without a mentor or someone to help you out? No, if it's a good job, you're going to take the knowledge that you already have, partner with someone that's going to help you out, and then you're going to learn together so that you can continue to experience or grow within your career. Treat AI as someone who's just an intern that you have and you're learning and working with it. You're sharing your knowledge because what ends up happening is because it becomes a mirror reflection of you. Because what you give it is what it's going to give back. The more you learn, the more you iterate, the more it's going to enhance your thought. So when a tactic is that when people see AI as a co-creator, an extension of who they are, that will then eliminate fear. It'll just eliminate it. And then they can start focusing on the most important thing, which is creativity, innovation, right? Collective thought. So that's my thought and tactic around it. But it's getting to the human behavior of things and just not thrusting a tool on someone.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Is like you mentioned that it's the AI is kind of like an extension of your self, true self, right? Because whatever you are prompting to AI is giving you back. So I think that's where also I think people are thinking about the AI is going to take over jobs, but we still need subject matter expertise to write those prompts to make that AI for work for them, so they can come up with a better outcome or better products. So I just feel like this is all kind of very related, and I love the way this conversation going. but I still want to make sure that we go through the remaining part of it. So I'm going to pass it over to Mac for the next segment, which relates to the AI integration frameworks.
Thanks, Sam. I really love that, the way you mentioned that the different use cases, right? I mean, to even like, who is not a tech savvy guy, I mean, just to start with the AI, he or she doesn't have to be a data scientist. He or she doesn't have to be a product manager or an AI engineer for that. Like anybody can start with the small use cases, like what is how they can save money, how they can save time, right? And based on that, they can start implementing some of the start experimenting with some AI tools, and they can start leveraging the AIs. But I absolutely love that. And I also love that you mentioned that, think AI as an intern. I really love that because I really think that the different LLM models, they are so smart that once it has your input, it will get trained automatically. So next time you don't even need to repeat all those things because them already knows about that who you are exactly, what could be your questions. So I mean, it's damn smart already. So I think, I mean, it's absolutely, I mean, you said it correctly that, we can think that AI as an intern. Having said that, when you are consulting with businesses on AI integration, what frameworks or guiding principles do you use when deciding where and how to integrate AI into their operations or product offerings?
Yeah. So one of the things that I personally like to do is understand what problem that you're solving for. This is no different from any other business that you're trying to do. What are you trying to solve for? What are you trying to accomplish? And based on what you're trying to accomplish, if you're looking at integrating AI into the mix, we have to understand, where does it make sense to automate? Where does it make sense to have a human there, human check, right? And then where is a human in the loop? So human might be, in this particular case, is that I've taken a series of Excel documents and I want to analyze this and upload, have AI analyze this and produce a report, look at these figures to help accelerate something. So the human might go through and identify the reports that need to be sorted. Just keeping this as simple. And so they identify something and pop it in a directory. Then they're going to write an AI agent or some sort of AI process that will go through now and analyze that. Right? But someone needs to sort of write that prompt, right, to explicitly do what needs to happen. So then it goes out and reads those documents, does some magic on it, and produces report. The human in the loop is still important because they need to validate to make sure things are okay. I might need to tweak a few things and what's going on, right? Because AI isn't going to get it right the entire time. So it's sitting down and walking with someone, because believe it or not, everyone thinks that you push a button and AI is just going to do everything. We are not fully agentic just quite yet, at least things that are out in public. Like there are things out there that just aren't there. And so people have this misconception that AI is just going to do everything, that they don't believe that the human is still an important element to this. So the first thing I do is map out just a plan on, look, here are the various pieces. This is what's going on of your workflow. Does this capture everything that you do manually today? Based on what's going on, now cost is going to be a factor. Oh, we want to integrate with this or do this going on. Well, the more that you're trying to integrate, these are APIs that you have to integrate. There's other services that are going on. Does data need to be private here, or where can you get things that are public? Like we map all that out. That's a design that maps out sort of the architecture of how you see AI being integrated into your system. Once that's there, and depending on cost and another value of factors, we start with something small in that process. So we're just going to carve out this little piece and we're going to do a small project, right? Just to kind of validate the ROI. If this is going to help save you X amount of hours, that'll going to translate to Y amount of dollars, and we're going to be able to see what's going on. And if that gets the ROI that you're looking for, let's just go ahead and then figure out what's happening. Now, as part of that process, you'll also understand, well, if I'm going to use AI here, this is the number of people that I have that are currently doing that today. And so a decision would need to be made as part of this. Are these people being up leveled because they're still important? Because there's a human in the loop factor to where we still need some checks and balances. If I have 10 people today, am I up leveling all those 10 people? Or do I only need to require 2 people out of the mix to be able to do this job? And how quickly will we do that? But all that becomes, there's time it takes to adopt with that. That's how you're starting small. So the idea here is that there is no big bang approach with this. because you're orchestrating systems that need to talk to each other, and you need to refine that data set to make sure that the results that you're getting are accurate. There is no way that you're going to throw AI into the mix as intelligent as it is, and it's 100% going to return the results that you're looking for. I haven't seen that yet. And so it's really taking this incremental approach on things. So once after you finish the the pilot and you get the ROI, you're just taking these step functions, right, to kind of get things integrated. And this way it allows you to slowly adopt, AI into your business to where it doesn't feel like a threat. It feels more like an evolution on what you're doing, and then allows people to be guided along in that process. Did that make sense?
Right. Absolutely. And I love the three-way approach. So first, actually, for any business owners or small company, medium-sized business, first they need to figure out that what would be the business strategy that where they can automate themselves, right? I mean, that's the first thing. Second thing that you mentioned about that, create an AI agent for that. And based on that, we need to set up the architecture and then finally the human validation. So I love the three-way approach that what you just mentioned. And my next question for this segment is that you work with executive teams across different industries. What does AI fluency mean to you for executive teams, and how are you fostering that within organizations?
Yes. So we're just now starting with this piece. One of the things that we've been recommending is within an organization, we know that we have different job functions that exist. So within those job functions, you're going to have a subject matter expert that understands the context of that role. So let's just pick on sales and marketing. So sales and marketing, it's a general, but the context at where you're doing sales and marketing might be different from, promoting a retail company versus a biotech company versus XYZ company, right? What you're doing and what's actually going on, the context is going to be different. But there's going to be some common strategies that could be applied. So as we start looking at, an organization, seeing where things roll out, the pattern is the same. Let's figure out where we can adopt AI to help improve and identify these vertical subject matter expert pieces. And what you're going to see as things are evolving within organizations, you're going to have subject matter experts that have context. Those individuals are going to be, either they're working with, prompt or context engineers that be able to take like other marketing folks that understand the business of what's going on. And then they'll most likely be building agents. So no longer do you need, a very large marketing team. You might have one leader that is understanding the strategy, where things are going, where things are trending, what are different sort of AI tools that might help make things efficient. You'll have a layer of individuals that are providing the context of what's going on, programming these agents to make things more efficient. And that pattern in itself, this predicting is where the future is going to be, to where you're going to be managers of agents, right? And you're going to have individuals not being like, managers of people, but you'll have managers with context engineers with agents that are helping to drive those values. And that's really it. Like things are just changing. You'll still need some technical pieces because if you have to integrate, you have to check the code. You're not going to take a marketing person to come in and understand like some integration with a third party solution. Like they'll still have some engineering disciplines there, but even their role is going to be extremely simplified, right? Because you're going to be vibe coding or getting things going to figure out what's going on. So the disciplines that we know and love are still there. They're just going to evolve. It's like using a calculator to do math or an Excel spreadsheet to kind of it's the same thing. It's just a different type of tool.
Absolutely. And I love that the way you said, like, the SMEs will be different. I mean, based on the industry wise. So if I want to create an agentic AI for the retail industry, I need to make sure that the SME that which I'm going to bring, he or she should have enough knowledge about the retail industry at the same time, right? And then I think, and then the agentic AI approach could be similar from, like from different industry across different industries. So I love that. I mean, the way you explained it. And for the next segment, future of AI education, that I'm going to pass it over to Sam.
Thanks, Mac. The way the discussion kind of unfolded in last couple of minutes, I think we are pivoting to the right section at this moment. So, Claude, looking ahead, what emerging trends in AI education or community building are you most excited about? How do you see the landscape evolving? We touched upon that already a little bit, but we want to know a little bit more about it, especially in the AI education or community building realm.
Yeah. This is my opinion, and my opinion is based on my experience. So I am a self-taught developer. I was curious. I picked up the code, or I picked up a book on HTML in the mid 90s, and I learned how to program web pages. From there, I learned how to do JavaScript. From there, I got a job, started coding on Java. And I was in an environment that it was my grit, the work ethic that I had, and my creative thinking that allowed me to get these jobs. And by working hard, I was able to climb up in the ranks to, being VP of product and engineering, all because I was curious and what's actually going on. So when I think about AI training, you have a number of different people that might not have the mindset that I have, that might not be as curious, that think that it's scary to get things done, that need handholding and support. And so instead of creating a free class for someone to learn AI that adds zero value in their lives to be productive, to do something with it, that's what I want to do, to create these essential courses that at least get people excited about what the possibilities are. Being able to leverage AI for practical use cases. It doesn't need to be solving a big, massive business problem or automating things at scale. Just use it. Just use it like you use your phone. And if you can start solving those types of problems, it makes it practical. So the idea in step one, and what I'm thinking about training, is how do you make things accessible and practical? That unlocks creativity. So now when I start getting into the paid offerings, I just want to make things accessible. I don't want to charge $5,000, $12,000 for a course. Like, I don't want folks to be left behind. I'm coming from it in a position of passion and care because I want to nurture the human race. It doesn't matter anymore. That's where my heart is at. I want to nurture people into ushering into this new era. And by doing that, that'll build community because it'll separate things. You'll realize people that are taking advantage of others versus people that are looking to support others. And by supporting other people, that translates to trust. Being in a trustful environment allows you to have open communication. Open communication then translates to creativity. Creativity allows you to manifest anything that you put your mind to doing. That combination creates a self-sustaining ecosystem. It's transformative. That transforms worlds. That's what that does. So as I start thinking about what I'm trying to accomplish, with others in my team, I want to transform the world. And you do that based on the formula that I just mentioned.
Well, I kind of like love that, Claude, like that the way you said you want to transform the world. And I think you have a perfect tool to support that, which is AI. You just need to know how to use it.
Exactly.
That's the mindset we all should have, and especially to our listeners over here. I mean, just listen to what Claude just mentioned, because at the end, I mean, you have the power, and you don't even know, I mean, that AI could unlock your true potential in so many different ways. You just
That's
have
right.
to have that mindset to utilize it. Thanks,
That's
Claude.
right.
Moving on to the next question. For someone who listening right now, from the AI in education or AI product or any other areas, and if they want to get involved in the AI education or community building, what would be your advice for taking that first step? We understand that they definitely need to have the mindset to be a part of that community building initiative. What else do you think they should have at their disposal in order to start that
Yeah.
community practices?
Get plugged into a group. Get plugged in a group that's doing something. What's going to happen is that if you're surrounded by other people that are also in doing AI, you're going to start learning what is possible. So if you're doing this on your own, you're trying to see, some people work well that way. But if you're a little hesitant, find a group. Find a group that you can plug into and just learn, ask questions, and then test and see. Try it out. There's so many free tools that exist with AI. They have free versions of these things to kind of test and learn. And once you've done that, come up with a use case. My first website when I was learning, I came up with a use case. I said it's a little embarrassing, but I used to collect these. I don't know if you remember these little beanie babies, these like stuffed little toys or little plushy toy things. And then, I said, I'm going to create a website that sells these beanie babies. And I made a beanie baby website, but it was a project. It was a passion project that I created to use, HTML and, JavaScript to get this going. Just do that. Just start simple. Find something that after you get that knowledge to get things going. And once you do something once and you create something magnificent and you're like, wow, I can't believe I was able to do that. You're going to be hooked. You're going to be hooked. So just start.
Love it. Definitely. We just have to start from somewhere.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure that we have a lot of business leaders listening to this episode. So for them, if they want to take one concrete step towards building AI fluency in their organization, let's say in a few weeks, what step would you recommend for them to take first?
What's that? Understand why you want to use AI. Are you wanting to use AI because you're fearful? Are you wanting to use AI because it's going to help benefit your business? Whether it's scale, cost efficiency, whatever the case may be, understand the why behind it. If you do not understand the why, you are heading for disaster. That's as simple as I can put it. You start with the why.
Yeah, I think it just in today's AI world, we still have to start between why, what, and how. That three questions would never change. So thanks for that. I'm pretty sure the listeners over here taking notes on that. Thanks, Claude. I guess we are kind of towards the end of this episode, so I'm going to pass it over to Mac to wrap up this episode.
Thanks, Sam and Claude. It's an absolutely honor to have you, show because I have learned a lot with our discussion. So we started about creating community. We talked about mindset. We talked about dedication. We talked about, do mistake, and then get up, right? And then that you have also mentioned at the last that why. I think the why, is the determining factor that why I'm going to do this. Why I'm going to implement AI strategies in my organization and, in my strategy. So this has been an incredibly inspiring and practical. And thanks again for joining us and sharing these valuable insights for AI education and building meaningful communities around AI transformations. So where can our listeners connect with you, learn more about Do It with AI, and potentially get involved in your community?
Thank you. Thank you for that. You can go to doitwithai.io. There you can learn more about what we're doing and some of the programs that we're offering. We're just getting started. We have our sort of foundations program. We have our accelerator program. This integrates with a company called Mind Studio to help you build agents. And we take you step by step on how to actually get that done and just make. We're also going to be launching our accelerator program, and this is going to be a free offering. Again, it touches back to giving back to the community to get folks just comfortable with stuff. But go to the website, join our mailing list, check out what we have to offer. There's a form on there. If you want to contact me and my team, please send a note. I'll be happy to walk through and share and talk about AI to our heart's content. So really appreciate the time that you all have given me today.
Perfect. And thanks to all of you for listening to this episode of Inside Assembly AI. If you found this conversation valuable, please subscribe and share it with founders, executives, and anyone passionate about making AI accessible and impactful. Until next time, this has been Building AI Communities and Driving Real World Impact. Another episode of Inside Assembly AI, delivering our core message: keep innovating, but keep it strategic. Thank you.
Thank you both.